Hello. Hi, everybody. I know there are lots of you. Hello, ladies. I know there are lots of people joining in. When you get here, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat box. Let us know what city and state you're in. We'd love to know where you are. You can say hi. Hopefully, we'll see your chats. I'll wait. We won't start until we know you guys are all here. And Kate from Naturalizer will tell me if there are comments coming in that I just don't see. But so far, I don't see any comments yet. So I'm going to wait for all of our participants, all of our listeners, our audience that's here and joining in. If you guys want to just say hi so we know you can hear us. And once I get just one, all I need is one. Then we will start then we will start this conversation, I promise. Kate, feel free to message me if I am not able to see the chat. I was thinking that I was. They are here. They are asking questions. They can't chat. I just heard. Okay. Well, ladies. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone who has joined us, hello, everybody. We are going to jump right in. I will ask questions of the people that are listening, and please feel free to chat back. Kate from the Naturalizer team will happily take in all of your comments, and sometimes I might ask for just like majority. So I might ask Kate, like, did the majority of people say yes? Did the majority of people say no? So feel free to be engaged with us. We want to, oh, we have hellos from Los Angeles, New York City, New Jersey, and St. Louis so far. I like it. I feel like we're all represented with those states. That feels good to me, right? Cool. So let's begin. My name is CeCe Olisa. You may know me as co-founder of the CurvyCon, or you may know me from my TEDx talk, How to Build Self-Confidence. Either way, I am very glad that you are here. There are some amazing organizations represented in this conversation, and it's an honor for me to even be able to chat with these ladies for just a minute. So the organizations that are represented here are She Should Run, Fair Fight, the Outrage, and Naturalizer. Let's click to read more on each of these women and the organizations that they represent. Feel free to stick around. We will be doing some handouts on confidence, on women's empowerment, on different things for you guys to take away. So we've got some freebies for you. And I have a feeling there's going to be a shoe giveaway at the end of this. So I would say stick around for those two things. First off, we have Erin Loos Cutraro. Hi, Erin.
Hello, CeCe.
Erin is the founder and CEO of She Should Run, which is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization promoting leadership and encouraging women from all walks of life to run for public office. If you are listening and you have considered running for office, or you have not considered running for office, we would love to know. If you've considered it, give us a big yes. If you've never considered it, give us a no. So we kind of know where we all are. I know I've never considered it. So since She Should Run was founded in 2011, I like that, y'all. I see you guys. More than 26,000 women have been encouraged to run for office through She Should Run's efforts, which I find to be so incredible. And over 18,000 women have indicated that they are preparing for a future through the She Should Run flagship program, which is called the Incubator. Erin, I'm so glad you're here.
I am really excited for the conversation.
We also have Rebecca Lee Funk. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey, Stacey.
Rebecca is recognized by Marie Claire Newgard as one of the 50 women changing the world where we live. Rebecca Lee Funk is the CEO and founder of the Outrage, which she founded in 2016 in an effort to make it easy for people to connect with causes that they care about. So let's see here. Oh yeah, we've got people tuning in from Philadelphia, San Diego, Austin, Fresno, Arizona, DC, Boston, Atlanta. So how many of you that are listening have ever considered getting involved? There's a lot happening in this world. So the Outrage might be a good resource for you if you're trying to figure out where do you belong and all the things that are happening in the world. So I'm excited to hear more from Rebecca about the Outrage. Rebecca also got 10,000 people across the country to plank for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's birthday. So I don't know, you're kind of a rock star, I feel.
They didn't do it for me, they did it for RBG. So any one of us can do that.
You made that happen.
I love that. And also, didn't you find out you were pregnant like the day before your business launched?
Yeah, like I think 9 hours before I got the
Oh,
keto store. So 2 babies.
so great, awesome. It
Mm.
says in your bio that you're very tired, and I very much understand that. I can see why not. And then we have Mo Ivory. Hi,
Hi, CeCe.
Mo. Mo is here representing Fair Fight, and we are going to just do a little bit about Fair Fight, but then I really want to talk about Mo a bit as well. So Fair Fight promotes fair elections in Georgia and around the country. They encourage voter participation in elections, and they educate voters about elections and their voting rights. Fair Fight brings awareness to the public on election reform, advocates for election reform at all levels, and engages in other voter education programs and communication. Did I get that right?
That is right. Thank you.
No problem. And Mo consults with nonprofits and political campaigns, correct?
I do. I mean, we have a lot of that going on right now, so it's a busy
Right.
time.
And you are also a law professor doing amazing work in the entertainment law practice at Georgia State University, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. I teach.
just read. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No,
I just
you.
read a press release about you that you just announced to the world that you are teaching a class on the legal life of Candy Burris. I'm
I
so
am.
impressed by that.
Thank you. I think women should be studied, and I think their careers can teach students a lot. And Candy is one of those women that has done so many things. She's native to Atlanta, and I felt there would be an absolute. Candy is also very politically astute, and I call upon her and many times to help out with Fair Fight and other things. Our founder, Stacey Abrams, has a great relationship with Candy, and she was just the perfect person to study.
I love that. And my thing that I'm very excited to chat with you about today is that you actually have run for office yourself. In 2017, you ran for office.
I did, and I'd love to talk about that because it comes from the outrage, that so many of us have felt, and needing to do something right after 2016, and that I really learned so many things from doing that. You can win, you can learn so much from losing as much as you can from winning.
I know that's right. I can't wait for us to dig into this. These conversations are like everything we're all passionate about just fits right in. And last but not least, hi, Angelique.
Hi.
Angelique is the lead designer for the shoes that I feel like we are all here in honor of. Can I show off the shoes a little bit, Angelique? Is that okay? Because I have mine here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm currently on crutches, so I'm not wearing any fun shoes, but these have been sitting by my desk because these are actually my favorite Naturalizer boots. I have these boots, the original, and I got these that say vote.
Yeah.
Angelique, can you tell me about these boots?
Yeah, definitely. So with the boots here, they're really representing what Naturalizers Today We Will campaign. And it's all about voting, and it's a perfect boot, I feel, to represent the campaign. It's obviously we know how important it is to get out there and vote and promoting voting, and us getting out there and doing that really does change future outcomes, and I think we all have to recognize and making that happen. And the boot also represents it is celebrating 100-year anniversary of women voting, and that's something that's really great and we should be celebrating. But for me, when we are brainstorming on this idea of what boot should we use, what is our message, what do we want to get out there and really represent for the brand, I had a little bit of a problem, just honestly speaking. I had a little bit of a problem with going out there and saying that this 100-year anniversary marks the pathway and giving all women the right to vote. And as we know, that's not the case for all women. And I had to challenge, the company and my brand with that message. It just didn't sit right with me. Honestly, I couldn't go home, look in the mirror and be comfortable with that. So I spoke up, and of course, number one, as the creative lead, I'm a Black woman. How can I be comfortable with that? How can I sit there and say I'm okay with that message? And I wasn't. And the brand, also the brand, over indexes on Asian American. A lot of people don't know that. African Americans, we have a huge following in that audience, and we live in that space. And again, I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So, I thought about it, and I debated on saying something, fearful of what we call backlash, which is a real thing right now going on. So I was a little, apprehensive, but then in the end, I told myself, I have to speak up, because this message is not being inclusive. It's not being inclusive for all of us. The brand represents inclusivity, and I didn't feel good about it. And it also kind of told me too, we have to look at our history as well. And, looking at the history and the women's suffrage movement, a lot of people don't know that African American women had a huge role in that. They helped form that movement, and in hopes of getting gender equality and also racial equality. And, not knowing that history, I didn't feel good about it. So for me, this Today We Will Vote campaign, what it really represents, it's really all about, it's important for all of us joining forces, no different than in the women's suffrage movement. African American women stood side and wanted to fight and join forces as well. It's really all about all of us getting out there and doing what we can, and realizing joining forces passionately behind this is really going to help make a change. So that's what it really represents.
I love that, Angelique. And kudos to Naturalizer. I must say, I work with a lot of brands, and not every, consumer brand would even open up to this conversation. And I think that before I even say anything else, Angelique, what is your full title? Because I think I messed it up a little bit. What is your title at Naturalizer?
A vice president of design, and it's global design. Basically, we have a global brand. So yes, you're good.
So,
Lead creative is good too.
Naturalizer has a vice president of design that is a Black woman and who felt empowered in the room to speak up, right? So we would be having a completely different conversation. If it wasn't for you feeling the confidence and taking the risk in speaking up, and that Naturalizer listens. So thank you so much to Naturalizer for just being open to give this platform to all of us to have a conversation for all women. I think that's really exciting. What do you ladies think?
Oh, I just echo what Angelique said so beautifully. We, at the same time, at the Outrage, we're a hub for activism, but we operate through both community and fashion. So at the time, we had our deck where we're going around knowing that a lot of partnerships were going to get this centennial celebration wrong. And I say celebration, but it's one that also needs to be critiqued. To Angelique's point, we left it ostensibly as the women's right to vote, but it practically was white women's right to vote, and we left Black women behind, Latina women behind, Indigenous women behind, trans women behind. Many, many women were left behind. And so we kind of move in these spaces of, yes, let's celebrate and critique these movements, because they move us towards a more just society. They move us towards a meritocracy, but let's do it by centering the women that were erased, centering the women that blazed the trail, and also centering the women that today, and Mo, I'd love to hear you speak more to this, but today still face insidious voter suppression tactics. So Naturalizer coming at us, and probably we have you to thank, Angelique, coming at us and understanding the way that we wanted to tackle and talk about the 19th Amendment. It was just a perfect fit.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I think somebody else was going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that, 3 of the core ways that we deal with voter suppression is through legislative action, advocacy, and litigation. And so we're constantly reminded of the historic anniversaries of the past, and we take that opportunity to look at all that has happened and then really switch into all that still needs to happen. And so we just celebrated last week the 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, and we just look at where are we right now with that as well, right? There's just so much work that has been done, but there's so much work that yet to be done, and work that has been unwound that has to, be fixed. So, we work every day to make sure that the people, it makes me smile to see Angelique in this position because, our founder, Stacey Abrams, makes it a point that people who do the work at Fair Fight are women and men that represent Americans who care and who need to be represented, and everybody's voice is at the table. So we just had a runoff election on Tuesday in Georgia for the primaries, and we use that as a test run for a lot of the changes that we need to see when the general comes November 3rd, because we failed so poorly in Georgia because of our Secretary of State. So we began immediately moving into action, filed lawsuits, and this runoff election was a test run for if some of these changes will actually work on November 3rd. So we're doing the work every day on the ground to make sure that those legislative anniversaries we celebrate aren't in vain for what is happening in our country now. And so that's the exact work that Fair Fight does every day.
I love that. I feel like I have to add too. Yeah, I want to jump in and say, Angelique, that what you shared, your personal experience, is the exact example of what we see when women do and should step up to run for office. So did I see you give a thumbs down at the beginning with the you've never considered a run for office? What I would say is, look, that's what it's about, is using your voice to change the game, which you did, and I'm sure you do regularly, and that's what it's about in elected office too.
I just finished, right before we got on for this call, I just finished a webinar with Erin's organization She Should Run called How to Combat Imposter Syndrome. And so I want to just say this real quick because this conversation is called Empowered Women, Empowering Women, right? And I think one of the things that happens to me sometimes when people go to empower me or compliment me or say, you should really consider, I go, oh no, not me. No, I could never. And right? And so it's let's all be very clear to the few of you who said you have considered running for office and the majority of you who said you have not. If you think you're not qualified, are you more or less qualified than the man who is sitting in the Oval Office right now? Run those credentials, and now let's have this conversation.
Okay.
There's nothing to question, okay? All right, great. So let's begin. A few questions for the group so we can all get to know each other. Just very quickly, give me a yes or no. Ladies, wine or whiskey?
Wine.
Whiskey.
Whiskey.
Wine.
For me, it depends on the day, but today is a wine day for me. Red lipstick or nude?
Red.
Red.
Nude.
Nude lip, red nails for me. No, this conversation is very important. And Kate, behind the scenes, please eject anyone who gives the wrong answer. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
Destiny's Child.
I think I might be older than
what?
I think I might be a little older than you. Because
I'm gonna say New Edition.
New Edition, yes, New Edition.
You guys just skirted around that one real easy. Right?
Me and Angelique.
What was your answer? What did you say?
Me? Mine was Destiny's Child.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
Backstreet Boys are NSYNC.
I feel like I'll pick Backstreet Boys. I'll go there.
I like that New Edition and Destiny's Child were the answers that you guys gave. I actually find that to be very funny. So I'll accept those answers as well. We're good to go. Let me check in on the audience. Oh, people are saying they love the boots. Awesome. A lot of great comments on the boots. So congratulations, Angelique, for this amazing design. So women represent 51% of the population, but we represent less than a third of the nation's leaders. How do you ladies feel? And I'll start with you, Erin, and then I'll go to you, Mo, after that. How do you ladies feel about this week's announcement of the Democrat VP candidate? Knowing that, how does that feel?
Chills, decades in the making. This is, to me, it's not about one woman. This is about so many amazing women of color, Black women who have been fighting for the moment for representation at this level and beyond. So there's so much to celebrate.
I love that. Mo, how are you feeling?
I mean, I feel like in the African American community, it always feels surreal when these things happen. And then when it's somebody that, you know, and you've touched before and you've been in rooms with, it feels like this system can work. Like, you know, you can actually elect someone representative of you who stands for your interests. And, you know, I think in Atlanta, a hub of Black women, a hub of women that belong to sororities and went to HBCUs. I'm a Spelman graduate, I'm a Delta. You know, we have already started figuring out how to do fun things behind her. We've got hats, we've got dresses, we're already stepping in line to a song with her name in it. And I mean, we're just like, it's so fun to see everybody online, you know, just going at it. My line sister's already started a contribution link. And so, you know, I just think it's amazing. It makes me feel so proud. And actually, it gives me a lot of hope. I have a daughter, you know, I have 5 sons. And so to let them see somebody, you know, that reflects them and they can say, oh, wow, okay. And get everybody excited about it. That's what I needed in my household. And I think all households across our country can feel a little happier that now we have something to really get behind and go forward and try to make our country better.
I feel like I observe sometimes that women can come together so passionately, like when we all feel like we're winning. And I think that it's important to watch like women who take the ladder all the way there, right? Like I think there is such a process with politics. Like for me, it feels like very intimidating, right? And we're gonna like bring it down to like super accessible with Mo's experience and Erin and Becca. But I think as we watch as women, I think it's important for us to feel, at least for me, I feel like a woman brings just like a completely different like mindset into the White House, and it brings a completely different like just the optics of it. I think like every day that we turn on the TV and it's like someone like me, right? Like that's just gonna feel so good through this process and prayerfully beyond. Angelique, Becca, you and I were texting about it a little bit. How did you guys feel when the news came out?
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Rebecca. Oh, okay. No, I was just going to say, you know, I jumping back on what Mo was saying, and, you know, I think as an African American woman and in my own household, you know, I went home talking about it to my girls and, you know, trying to get them excited about it. And I think, you know, it's great that she's going to be a wonderful representation, not only for, you know, African American women and women of color, but, you know, she's really a reflection right now of what America looks like. I mean, she comes from immigrant families, and America, you know, we've developed and we're grown from immigrants. So I think she's a great reflection of that for all people. I think that she's, you know, going to become, and already, if she isn't already, will become that kind of symbolic figure for social, cultural, and political change. I think even, you know, this is something minor, minute, you know, a little minute, you know, but she's even become a symbolic figure just in the way that she's dressing and how she ran her campaign. You know, she was running it in sneakers, and if you relate that back to fashion, I mean, sneakers is not, you know, a new thing. We're all wearing sneakers with our dresses and going to work. But, you know, the fact that she was the first trailblazer to do that, you know, running her campaign in sneakers, you know, that typical, you know, view of a woman should be in a pump or she should be in a dress. And you know what, she's changing the game. So that's what I mean by her, you know, coming, you know, on stage, and she's, you know, representing women of color. She's representing, you know, what America looks like. She's representing social, political, you know, all, you know, cultural change. She's representing all of that. So I'm really excited. I think it's a great, great opportunity for women.
Yeah, I totally agree to your comment earlier. CeCe texted me and I missed it. And I was like, why? Did you hear me scream, Kamala from DC, New York? Super, very, very exciting time. First Black woman VP, first South Asian woman VP. Very excited. And of course, like we needed something happy, you know, like our day, like 15,000 of quarantine. And then at the same time, I'm just ready now. I'm prepared to bust my tail to actually get her in that White House, and then to bust my tail for another 8 hours to hold her accountable.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. I think for me, something that I'm really passionate about with my community is I read somewhere that like the more marginalized identities that a person has, then like the more of a nuanced like identity they can bring to the table, right? They're going to have, so yes, a woman VP is great. And yes, the fact that it is a person of color, then like there's two narratives that are now in the White House, right? So even for the members of my community who are listening, who are plus size, who might be thinking like, well, I see she should run, and I see Mo ran, and I see Becca and Angelique, but not me because, oh, I'm curvier. Oh, my jean size says this. Like, I'm going to keep reiterating, there are people in government right now who did not get a law degree, who did not go to school for this, who do not have leadership or management training, who do not have a perfect figure. So all the things that you're telling yourself as we're trying to encourage you as you listen, we are coming from a place of knowing you are qualified. You can do this. You can speak up. So I just want to keep reiterating that. I know you're listening and we're going to say something and you're going to be like, oh, they're right, but not me. That not me part is not true. So I'm just going to keep harping on that. Okay. I want to know from each of you, and it doesn't have to be something political. Mo, I know what I want you to talk about, but for everyone else, and it doesn't have to be everyone because I want to make sure we get to questions. So also for those that are listening, if there's something that's said and you have a question for Mo, Angelique, Becca, or Erin, go ahead and put them in now so we can get to as many as we can before we get to that 2:30 mark. Can one or two of you tell me, actually, you know what, Mo, let's start with you. I just want to make sure we get to it. Tell me about the moment before you called Stacey Abrams and said, I think I want to run for office. Tell me from like idea to I'm going to do this. Because I feel like all of us, one of my good friends says, anyone who's ever taken a shower has had a good idea. But what is the percentage of people that have actually like done something about it, right? So you're in the shower, you get the idea. What is the process for you here, like who do you call, what do you do to decide that you were going to run for office? What does that look like?
So it was January 2017, and I come from a mixed background. My mother is Dominican and Mexican, and my Mexican grandmother is, she just turned 108 years old. And when I heard him saying, all of those nasty things about, you know, immigrant workers and people coming from Mexico, and I decided that I was going to spend the day of inauguration in Mexico. So I went to Mexico just in honor of my grandmother and to, you know, not be in America when that inauguration happened. And I was sitting on the beach and I was just thinking to myself, like, what could I do? I'm so, like, I have all this pent up, you know, and I need to do something. And I actually was taking a couple of weeks off because I was in between transitioning jobs. And so I thought to myself, when I get home, I'm going to really look at what's coming up in our municipal elections, because it was a off year. It wasn't a presidential, so it was municipal election time. And I just looked and I saw in my neighborhood that there were so much gentrification happening that we were having an affordable housing crisis in Atlanta. And one of the places that was happening the most was in my downtown neighborhood. And I just went around, and I lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. And I just didn't see my neighbors anymore. Such and such wasn't there anymore, and such's house was boarded up. And I thought, you know, I could really make a difference on the local level. So I decided to run for city council. And who I was going to be running against was a 16-year incumbent, a woman, 16-year incumbent, which I knew was going to be very, very challenging. But I said to myself, you know what, I think I want to do it anyway. And I really had made peace with myself that it didn't matter what the outcome was going to be. I was going to let people know. And she had gone unopposed for the last 2 terms. So in 8 years, nobody had stepped up to run against her. And so I just felt like it was important for our neighbors to know that somebody cared about the neighborhood enough to try to run against her, you know? So I started to do that. And I didn't know anything. I had worked in campaigns, but not the background of campaigns. Like, how do you fundraise? How do you message? I didn't know any of that. So I just went to Stacey, who I knew from Spelman, and of course, Stacey's work in Georgia. Everybody knew who she was, and we were friends. And I called her up and I was like, I gotta come talk to you. And she was like, okay, come on down. And I said, I think I want to run. And she was like, you should run, And so I was like, okay, I'll run. And I'm like, what do I need to know? And I told CeCe this. Like, Stacey gave me the advice that nobody else was really giving me. You know, people were like, well, when you run, you know, get t-shirts and get yard signs and get all of that kind of stuff. And that's not at all what CeCe was telling me. CeCe was like, here's how it works. And, you know, you need to figure out what your fundraising platform is going to be. And you need to read this book. And these are the organizations that you need the support of. And these are the people that are going to guide you in the right direction. And she really gave me like this playbook that helped out so much to cut through a lot of the things that are hard to understand. And then I went to a Emily's List training, a big training that they had in a big hotel in DC, because everybody was like, I'm gonna run, you know, and everybody goes there. And I got there and I felt like it was one of those big, you know, all kinds of information things, but I needed to take that information in for myself. And this is where I think that a lot of people split off. They hear the big messages, but they don't know how to apply it to themselves. Like, they don't have a fundraising consultant. They're like, who's going to give me money? I want to first say to everybody listening to this, people will give you money if you ask for it. I know a lot of people are timid to ask people for money, but in my first quarter for a city council race, I outraised my 16-year incumbent.
Yes.
She raised $8,000 and I raised $68,000 or $86,000, something like that. And it was literally from calling my friends and my family. All the people that have ever liked a post from you on Facebook or said, hey, you did a great job here. When you tell them, I'm going to try to do the work, I'm going to go do, they believe that about you if you've shown that you've done it in the past. And then they will be happy to support you. So I just want to take away, I think one of the biggest things is that people think you have to be wealthy to run for office, that you have to have all this money, and it's just not true. When you ask people, they will support you, and then you budget wisely and you do the things that stretch your, you know, we have social media, which most of the times is free unless you're going to, you know, pump it up with ads or whatever. But I think that running for office is so real for anybody who wants to do it. And I encourage everybody to do it because you will learn so much about the process. You will learn so much about yourself. And even when you lose, and I did, I got 40% of the vote my first time out against a 16-year incumbent, which I considered successful.
Yes.
People will begin to engage you just because of stepping out there in that manner. That now sets you up for whatever's going to be your next big move. And I don't know what it will be, but I don't now have any of the fears that are associated with running for office because I went through it. I understood the regulations, I did the homework, and I'm prepared. And so I just say, everybody run.
Oh,
Erin.
I love that.
Erin, back it up. Walk us through that.
No, she covered everything. No, that's incredible. And I'm so glad that you are sharing the really important message about all that is gained, even when you lose an election, because it's something that, you know, women are less likely than men to run again if they lose. And I think there is this, we often hear stories about how personal, women take it really personally in a way that men don't. And what I love is when women tell their stories of how that wasn't the case. And maybe from day one, it's different, you know, always, it hurts, it stings to lose an election. But when you fast forward, rarely is there a case when I'm talking to a woman who has run and lost and months have passed or years have passed that she can't point back to say, it's one of the best things I ever did. Changed my life. People knew what I stood for. I was proud of what I did. I gave it my all. And I hear that in what you're saying, Mo. And I just want to thank you for running. I want to thank you for being that person and being willing to step up and serve and for acknowledging that just because you lose a race, it changes nothing. It's one more step in the journey that has no specific end here. So I think it's incredible that you did what you did.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one thing that, especially for the folks that are on the line from Atlanta, you know, a lot of people don't know that obviously CeCe, you know, ran for governor, and that election, I wouldn't say she lost, but that election was stolen away from her. But, you know, we all are waiting with bated breath to see what will happen next. And I'm sure she'll, you know, be in elected office again at some point or whatever. But our mayor as well, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, we always laugh. We go to the same hairdresser. I haven't seen her in a while though, because obviously we're not getting our hair done. But you know, she ran her first election and lost. And after I lost my election, Stacey was the first person to call me and say, what are we running for next? You know, and then Keisha called me and said, Mo, like, you know, when you get ready to run again, let me know, because I hope you know that I lost my first race. And, you know, so like me being the mayor and now the national spotlight that she had came from her running again and trying again. And so even people that are in these high positions that people don't think that they went through the same thing on the grassroots level, they lost and they tried again. And then they are what they are now. So those are some just high level examples to say it's not just the person nobody knows. It happens to many, many women, and then they run again.
Yes. I legitimately was rejected like last week. Like this happens, right? And I think so.
Yeah.
It's like at a certain point you're like, oh, like I'm trying. Like that's why I'm getting rejected, because I'm actually like in the game. I've been doing a lot of like watching basketball with this bubble thing. I'm very fascinated with the whole thing. And I think as women, to your point, Erin and Mo, about how women don't run again. I think for me, like I'm a creative entrepreneur. I was attracted to the arts. I didn't play sports, but if I did, I'd probably understand like, no, like you win to get to the championship, but you still might lose the championship. Like it still might not work out. It doesn't mean that you're not LeBron still, or that you're not, you know, Lisa Leslie or whoever. So I think the idea of like rejection being like a finite thing, like I think that's something that I, as a woman, I do that. Like I'm like, I take it personal, like you said. Like I'm like, oh, it meant somebody the other day. I put a number in an explanation to something that was smaller than the cost of my services, and it was a number about something else. So let's just say my services were $5,000, and I had put, oh, and this happened for $50, and the person wrote back, so is the whole thing $50? And I was like, you think I was like, my team was like, don't take it personal. Like it has nothing, it's more about their budget. They're like hoping they can, right? But it's like we take it personal. We take a rejection as like, oh, I'll never go back again, right? Meanwhile, we be taking men back over and over and over. You guys like, you don't, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So anyways, Kate has a question. Given the outlook, this is in the group. Oh, we're going there. Given the outlook for more mail-in ballots due to COVID and the potential for disruption due to current actions at the U.S. Postal Service and possible lack of funding, how concerned should we be? What can we do to raise awareness or help on this serious issue? The U.S. Postal Service and possible lack of funding. How concerned should we be? Ladies?
Concerned. Pretty concerned. I'd say an immediate step that I encourage everyone in my life to do, and I encourage anyone listening to do, just double, triple check, make sure you're registered to vote. Extend that to everyone in your family, everyone in your community. Check now. If you plan on mailing in a ballot, do it early. Do not wait for a deadline. Get ahead of it and share your concern on social media. Share, you know, make sure you're checking your sources and you're sharing good and factual information, but talk about it.
I read somewhere that, go ahead, Mo.
There's a funded GOP campaign to send out mixed messages to intimidate voters and to confuse people. And so that looks anywhere from like police officers and National Guard being at polling locations to disrupting the U.S. Postal Service to making sure that you are confused, that you think actually voting by mail and absentee ballot are two different things. Which they are not. And by the way, our president voted by mail, which means he sent in an absentee ballot. So, you know, the most important thing you can do is give yourself time to track and fix. When you go to send in your ballot, you are able to track it through your Secretary of State's website or through whatever mechanism is in your state. And you should screenshot every step when you are tracking, so that if something odd happens, you know, organizations like Fair Fight, in which you can just call us and we will take a declaration and add it to a lawsuit, which helps greatly in these types of things. So what you want to do is you want to vote early. If you're a person that likes to go into a voting location, that's perfectly fine. Be careful, use all of the COVID guidelines. Most voting precincts, not most, all voting, early voting locations have guidelines that they are following, whether they're CDC or state guidelines for that. So you make yourself safe and you go cast your vote. And if you don't want to do that and you want to vote by mail, you absolutely are allowed to under your constitutional right given to you by, our government from the earliest days. And so you should just find out what that process is. And if you need any help figuring it out, you can call any of your whatever party you belong to, you can call and find out about it. And then you can also call any of these organizations, go to the Outrage, find any of the organizations, call Fair Fight. But you absolutely, we will not let the post office be the only way, and any intimidation tactics that are going on keep you from casting your ballot.
I want to make sure that, so first of all, understand that everyone that is on this conversation is a resource. Like this is a real thing. These are real women that are doing real work, right? But I want to get back to the more granular thing. One of the things that I learned on the She Should Run Combating Imposter Syndrome webinar that I did this afternoon was that one of the ways that we can learn to like build our confidence to taking action, right? Like we have the shower, we get the idea, we're sitting on the beach in Mexico, we're sad, we decide I want to run, right? But even that spark of like idea to action, what they were saying on the imposter syndrome webinar was that it's like taking small actions to challenge yourself. I did that with my body positivity. I did not, I'm in a sweater right now, which is like a bad example. I promise I have kicked this bad habit. But when I was very insecure about my body, I would wear like cardigans in the summer over my tanks, right? And it would be like in the subway and like everyone else is sweating, but I was so insecure about showing my arms that I'd be wearing like cardigans. Like I'm miserable, but I don't want to. So I would like, when I told myself like, CeCe, this is ridiculous. Like you need to stop. I would like be like, okay, put on a tank top and go to the grocery store. 30 minutes. Like if you get back and you went out into the world with showing your arms and you don't die, then you can do it again an hour, right? Then you could do it again for the day, right? So I literally built myself. That's the little bit of confidence that makes me a co-founder, that makes me able to do TED Talks, right? Like it doesn't start always with the big move. So Angelique, I'd love to hear from you. The way you spoke up in the room, that wasn't the first time you did that. How did you learn to do those little moments of like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, but I'm going to speak anyway. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, but I'm going to take action, because that's what it's going to take for everyone who's listening to believe what we're saying. Because I know they still don't believe us. I can tell. Like I can feel it. The energy is not like no one has messaged us saying I'm running. Like I haven't seen that yet. So
I do have to say, after hearing Mo's speech just right now, you kind of gave me a little burst of confidence to want to run, like for something. I don't know, but I mean, you seriously like gave me some confidence. But no, to your question, CeCe, I mean, I think for me, and it's different for everyone, but what I've learned is, first of all, I have to say my mother, honestly, she told me, you know what, you need to continuously speak up and don't, address the situation. You have to consistently speak up and address the situation. And then also that, I have to look at myself in the mirror at the end of the day. I have to be comfortable with what I have done at the end of the day. I'm answering to myself with that. And if I don't feel confident and comfortable and that I address the situation or challenge, whatever it is, and also along that same path, I've learned to gain allies. I don't have support. And again, I'm speaking from a woman of color's perspective. Being in a corporate environment, I don't have the support that some of my same colleagues would have. So in knowing that, I had to make sure whenever I do step up and speak out, I have to gain allies along the way. Even me getting to the VP position took a long time. It was very hard, but I had to keep pushing and nudging and pushing and nudging. Did I get tired? Did I give up sometimes? Absolutely. And I, stopped for a while, but then I told myself, what, if this person's a VP, why can't I be a VP? I mean, why not? And I had to keep telling myself that. And then, but again, gaining those allies along the way to help support. So when I wasn't in the room, they could speak for me. And that really helped to get me to where I am today.
I love that. I love that. We have a question from the group. If I am interested in running for office, what are the most important steps to prepare?
I would love to hear Mo's reaction to that first.
Wow. I talk to your husband and your kids first. You see them.
Hi, husband. Hi, kids.
Yeah, because their lives will be impacted when you completely stop doing laundry and cooking, or having an ounce of energy but for your race. So, I would just say that talk to people who have done it before. Yes. And do the research. What's the spot that's best for you? Are you an education advocate? Then maybe school board is for you. Do you care about like what happens to the streets in your neighborhood and the pothole? Okay, city council may be for you. Or wait, you care about the state and legislation happening across your state. Then maybe you want to run for lieutenant governor. I mean, or governor. Who are you as a person, and what's important to you are the things that I think help you to figure it out. Then once you figure that out, work backwards. Who had the job before? Who are the allies? If it's a partisan race, then who are your allies in that? And then who will help you? If you have a friend who's a graphic designer, then you're set. If you have a kid who's really good on social media, you're set. If you have friends who, know how to cook, great. Have them bring food for your family. If your friend owns a restaurant, great. That's going to be your headquarters. I mean, it's small things. And you don't have to think, oh, I've got to get a location and pay rent. And no, you can do it on your sofa with your kids as your social media managers. My 15-year-old was my social media manager. A college student was the person who did my numbers and figured out what houses we had to go knock on. And my girlfriend was my fundraiser. And so it's just so possible from a completely grassroots perspective. And then you just get in your mind, you're going for it like you've done before, when like you got ready to have a baby, or you got ready to graduate from college, or you went to law school, or and you got your MBA, same thing. And then you're just gonna start doing it.
Yes. I think what I love about that, so, She Should Run, we have just over 20,000 women who have come into the community and said, okay, maybe me someday, I'm just not sure. We really target that woman who's not totally there yet. And what I love, Mo, about what you're sharing is it all kind of comes back to, you can figure out all the steps, like the mechanics of running a campaign. We got this. Once you have that fire in the belly, and that's really, look, you got to know why you're doing it. But once you have that, all those other components, you'll find your people. You can look into your network, you can get resourceful, just know why you're doing it, and then the other components with work, of course, will start to fall into place.
Yeah, you'll find that there will be people. I want to just say this to anybody out there who's thinking about it. There are going to be people in your life who are going to show up to knock on doors, and there are going to be people that just send checks. You need them both. And so that's a great thing for thinking about, like, well, who will support me? Support comes in all ways, and you will be so surprised about the goodness of people. I'll say that the number one thing that I learned from my race is that I have a lot of really great neighbors, and people that have never had a conversation with me before coming to my lawn and saying, go Mo, you can do it. I mean, to this day, like, go Mo. I'm like, I'm not running for anything right now. They're like, no, you should run again. Yeah. I'm like, y'all, I haven't even made that decision yet, but they made the decision. Mo's running again, right? They don't know what for. But that's the goodness of people, right? They just want to be involved in watching and supporting someone who they know is in it for the right thing. So you can do it. If you want to do it, I swear to God, text me, call me, whatever. Like, I'll encourage you to that next step so you can go qualify and become a candidate.
I love that. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to let everyone know that there are 5 different freebie downloads available for you right now. They are called handouts. If you need help downloading them, the people in the chat box will help you, because I don't know how to do that. And then at the end, we will talk one more time about the shoe giveaway. The shoe giveaway is actually pretty easy. Anybody who is a part of this conversation, you have registered via email. So what Naturalizer will do is they will put all of the emails into a randomizer machine. They will pull the email out, and email that person and say, congratulations, you have won the fabulous vote booth. So that's how the giveaway is going to work. I want to make sure when we need to vote on November 3rd. And I read somewhere, please correct me if I'm wrong, that if you do plan to do a mail-in ballot, they are recommending that you send it in by October 30th to give it 2 weeks to arrive wherever it's supposed to go. Did I make that up? You guys are the experts.
I don't know the exact date, but you definitely, I encourage you to look.
Oh wait, October 30th and November 3rd isn't 2 weeks apart, is it?
No.
Is that why you guys were quiet?
I don't know about those dates, but you do want to leave as much possible time to get that done, and contacting your local board of elections is one of those, as we talk about what are those little steps that we can take. Figuring out who your local board of elections is, that information will be public on what are the dates. Get it done as early as you possibly can, most definitely.
Anyone who knows me knows that I have date dyslexia. I never remember. I'm always like, is it October 15th, 31st? I never know. So that was a classic me move for anyone who does not know me. So maybe I guess it's like October 20th or something like that. Whatever the 2 week mark would be, not 2 days.
And I just want to tell folks too that if you find yourself in a, oh my gosh, it's almost November 3rd and I have an absentee ballot, you still can not send the absentee ballot in, and then you can go actually vote in person. Or as an alternative, if you are not feeling comfortable about going in person, there are also drop box locations. And many counties have set up drop boxes where it doesn't go through the mail, it goes into the drop box, and then the election boards pick up the drop boxes, whether that's at the local library or whatever. But like Erin said, just go to your I was about to say Fulton County because that's where I live, but go to your county board of elections and you'll find out about the drop boxes.
I will say, even for me, once I had been planning to do absentee, but once I saw that we had our woman Democratic VP, I've been thinking about doing in person. So I know that a lot of us are on the fence and trying to be safe and trying to honor this. I think, like, at least for me growing up, I feel like I always got the narrative, like, people risk their lives so that you could have the right to vote. So I'm like, is this my moment to risk my life to vote? I don't know. So if you're thinking about it, you're, doing it in person and making sure you get it in. There's something I'm thinking about it too. I'm going to say that. I'm thinking about it too. So I understand those of us who just want to make sure, it gets into the basket. Let's see. What are each of the this is a question from our audience. What are each of the panelists doing to make an impact before the election? I'll go first on that. So a lot of my work happens in a lot of different places, but the biggest platform that I have is my Instagram, my social media. I just crossed the 90,000 follower mark, which is like incredible. I can't even believe that's like a real thing. And I do work with a lot of brands, and I do work with brands that like don't want to get involved in politics. And so when I quit my corporate job in 2015, I never really dipped in. Like, I did some Black Lives Matter stuff, but I didn't really I wasn't too vocal about politics because I didn't want to offend anyone that could potentially write a check that would pay my rent. And I made a very intentional decision this year that I would use my platform to talk about politics, not to say one thing, not to try to convince anyone, but I would share how I felt, because I do think that sometimes we avoid hearing from people who don't think how we think. So I will listen to commentary and read what other people are saying so that I can kind of have an understanding of what my audience might be hearing, and then saying it through my perspective. So that's a risky move. There might be brands that don't want to write me a check anymore and whatever, but I believe that it's what I'm supposed to do and that I'm in alignment, and God will work out the finances of all of that. I have not run into any trouble. I think that this experience with Naturalizer has been very positive and very powerful. So clearly brands are enjoying outspoken women, and I'm enjoying being an outspoken woman. So that's my step one. We'll see what step 2 and 3 and 4 will be, but that's where I'm starting out.
I'm happy to jump in. So look, I'm doing the work of She Should Run. So, not a simple message to play in the long game space, which is, it's not for us always just about this election. It's about elections to come until we see the richly diverse representative government that we so desperately need in this country. So making the case to women, you know, who are truly coming at action in this country from all walks of life, to see that if they don't see themselves represented on the ballot, we have to do something about that, so we build the ballots we need in the future. So growing that support and those resources for those women who want to explore that is the work of She Should Run, and what I'm committed to.
Go ahead.
Very similar. I'll be doing the work of the Outrage, where you can see our logo is even a megaphone. So we're just here to hold space for the organizations like Fair Fight, like She Should Run, that are on the ground doing the work. Typically we do that physically, and I'm sitting in a 2,000 square foot community space right now. So we're taking that online. We've got a network now of 100,000 countries, so just making sure they are connected to the resources, to know their rights, and helping them take that next incremental step in their activism. And then personally, I'm from Pennsylvania. So figuring out, you know, in a pre-COVID world, that'd be living with my parents and knocking on doors. Now trying to figure out, I imagine it'll be a lot of phone banking, but figuring out the personal plan with a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old.
And for me, you know, I'd probably say I'm probably the most least political savvy out of all of the people that are on this webinar, but which is fine. And for me, just personally, you know, I just think for, you know, everyone, you just need to educate yourself more. And I think that is something that we don't do enough of. We don't educate ourselves on our history. And I think if we don't do that, we're going to just be doomed to repeat the same history over and over again. And if we really want to make a change and an outcome, I know myself, I'm educating myself more on, you know, just systematic and institutionalized racism. I think it's, you know, something that we really have to be mindful and get, you know, a little bit more information around. And I like to say, you know, especially for myself, and I really try to teach my children this, is, you know, you must be the change that you want to see. And I think we don't do that enough as human beings, and we really need to be better at that. So
I would say that, you know, we continue to do the work at Fair Fight. We are in 18 states, Pennsylvania definitely being one of them, and headquartered in Georgia. And we are just trying to promote fair elections and protect your right to vote. And so we've set up and raise enough money to put voter protection directors in 18 states that are watching and taking care of all of the things that we're looking at, to make sure that everybody from the folks in Pennsylvania to the folks in Wisconsin to the folks in Georgia are able to access their right to vote. And we do that work every day, and we follow the, you know, guidance of what I call the smartest left brain and the smartest right brain, which is CeCe and Lauren Bowargo put together, make the smartest person I know. And we just keep on going. And it's a pleasure every day. A lot of times I think that people feel like, well, I see you all doing the work, but nothing is really getting done. And I want to tell you that that is just not at all true. And I just want to give you this one statistic, that in Georgia, during the primaries, more people came out to vote than came out to vote in the 2008 election of President Obama. And that was in a primary. So we are encouraged that people are coming out to vote. And 49% of those people were between the ages of 18 and 35. And so we are encouraged that the messages are getting out there and people are exercising their right to vote. And it just takes every single one of us 5, and everybody listening, and then all of your friends, and then all of their friends, to just join any of these organizations, and then just do the simplest thing by, like, following the organization and retweeting or reposting their messages and their education, getting on webinars like this, and then checking your voting status and making sure that you are personally protecting the right to vote inside of your own household. And if we do that, we're going to see big changes.
I love it. And I love that that just happened at the 2:30 mark. Look at us. Boom. Easy peasy. This has been an amazing panel. You all look amazing. I'm so glad that I was able to spend time with you. I will be vote, 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 vote. Okay? November 3rd, in person, absentee ballot. You have rights to all of that. Please vote. Okay? Vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for an amazing panel. I will talk to every single one of you very soon. You on my panel, Angelique, Mo, Becca, Erin. I can't wait to be in touch with you and to continue building our amazing friendships. And everyone who came to join us today, thank you for giving us a bit of your time. Be sure to get your downloads and check your emails to see if you are the winner of the Vote Boots. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it was awesome. You finished strong too, girl.
I did.
I think it was great.